Learn the most advanced recruiting techniques. Land the most desirable talent. Launch your company towards massive success. This is the Higher Power Radio Show with Rick Girard.
HR versus recruiting. We're putting the gloves on and we're having an epic showdown today. Answering the age-old question, why can't we just get along? Let's see who will come out victorious. I'm Rick Girard, and welcome to the Higher Power Radio Show. Our mission is to discuss and deconstruct insights from top-performing entrepreneurs and industry experts. Every week, we uncover tested tactical solutions to solve your company's toughest hiring challenges. Today in the red corner, we have Nicole.
Woo! I'm excited.
The mad dog, Arvizu. She's the Chief Human Resources and Compliance Officer for Marical. Nicole is a very progressive and disruptive HR leader. She is a change agent who joined Marical in 2017 and has done an amazing job transforming the organization to bring HR as a business partner rather than an administrative arm. She loves to geek out with her quest for scientific knowledge, and my favorite part, she's also a surfer.
I would say more wave tumbler on most days.
Nicole, welcome to the show today.
Thank you, Rick, for having me.
Hey, I'm going with surfer. You're gonna be a surfer.
Okay.
All right, so we're gonna cover three things. 3 rounds we're having today in today's undisputed championship of the radio station.
I need to be holding up the sign.
Absolutely. Oh, you might. No, I'll be holding up the sign walking around. All right, round 1, we're gonna talk about what HR dislikes about recruiting.
Ooh. Let me start.
Round 2, we're going to go into recruiting issues with HR. And then round 3, which is I call the knockout round, we're going to talk about how we're going to get these two working together. It's kind of not really working with the theme, but hey, we'll work with it.
Okay.
So let's start with round 1. Ding, ding. So let's talk about the issues that HR has with recruiting. So there's different types of recruiting, right? You have... Well, let's talk a little bit about the sources that typically you're accustomed to using.
Sure, we have, of course, your traditional passive searches where, you go out, you post a job, you hope for the best. You're fishing, if you will, spending time searching through pools and pools of resumes, hoping to find that, purple squirrel that every organization hopes for.
Sure.
Then you have your, hey, recruiter firm, staffing agency, got some desperate needs, desperate hires. Can you place? I'll pay a surcharge. Help me out.
Yep. Need
Find
this
me some
filled
people.
yesterday, please.
That's right.
Yeah.
Then the last one is really your retained search. So the ones that are your big dogs, the ones that I can't find you anywhere because I've looked on LinkedIn, Indeed, Dice, if it still really exists anymore. But all of those vehicles to try and find that unique person that's going to join your organization. You haven't had any luck, and so the retained searches are going to help you find that through their network and direct placements. And
most definitely. So where do you find is the biggest kind of pain point out of those 3?
So if you recruiters are listening and you're out there, I would say my biggest pain point is don't assume that you know anything about my organization.
Oh.
A lot of what I have
But they have the perfect person for you.
They do. I call it the stop, drop, and roll approach to recruitment. I'm going to stop by with a basket of muffins or a pen or a pad of paper or a bottle of wine or offer you some tickets to go to some show, and then, hey, by the way, work with me. I'll send you some resumes, but I'll never follow up with the candidates after they're placed, and I'm just going to roll along and send you an invoice for a big, big fee. I have a real issue with that because not only have you not spent time with my organization to figure out what my operational challenges are, but certainly that how do you know what the fit is? How do you know what the culture is? Have you, walked a mile in my shoes?
Well, they stopped by and did drop off muffins.
They did, right. They make us well fed.
It's kind of like, it kind of reminds me of the prescription drug reps, right? Like they bring food all the time to doctors. And yeah. So that's more than I ever did, by the way.
Okay.
Throughout my career, I never really stopped by and dropped off muffins.
Yeah, that's one of my special favorites, especially at the holidays. Or they'll bring it's donut day, and here's 3 dozen donuts, and thanks and have a nice day, and please do business with me because I brought you donuts.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about the approach. They don't know your business. Is it that the process is to maybe transactional, and now you have a situation where they don't really understand your organization?
I kind of consider it like going into, a college speech. You go to class, you prepare, and you hope that people pay attention to what you have to say.
Sure.
And I would hope that recruitment kind of takes a similar approach, study about my company, and figure out what's in my industry that might be a barrier for me in terms of meeting a labor demand or shortage.
Sure.
Maybe give me some interesting factoids or statistics with a similar industry, somebody that says, hey, I know that Marical makes and contract manufacturing for retailers. I know you have some challenges with finding labor because of the price point. Hey, by the way, we've worked with other companies of similar size and scope that have interesting challenges like you, or I noticed that you went through an acquisition or you purchased a new company. Do some homework.
But that's just too much work.
But you want my business, right? You want me to be a forever customer, don't you?
Define forever, because businesses change, and I have found,
right.
And I came up through the ranks of being a contingency recruiter for most of my career. So I can play this end really well. I found that you can develop relationships and be in a really great position. Company changes happen, which are, happen a lot, and those relationships go away pretty quickly.
Right.
So, things can change at a drop of a hat. So I think we're taught coming up through that range that speed of movement and it's a transactional process.
Right.
And I think that's the biggest, problem with our side of the industry.
But Rick, wouldn't it benefit recruitment in general to change that process in general, to adapt to a changing workforce and demand, a supply and demand issue? I mean, if I have such a low unemployment rate in Orange County, for example, wouldn't you be thinking outside of the box beyond going to mixers and hoping to find an HR person to work with, or figuring out, meeting up with maybe those top executives to say, hey, I understand you have some labor challenges. And
all right, I'll take that uppercut.
Okay.
That was a nice punch. I totally agree with you. I think it does, but we're in a market right now that it doesn't warrant it. You can have anybody who kind of hits the ground as a recruiter, calls himself a recruiter, and just does the work, but runs it out, and can still make revenue.
Right.
And that's why, and throwing it back on companies by you accepting that you can donate.
True, but where do you turn it around? Where do you set the stage that recruitment needs to...
You listen to the Higher Power radio show with Rick Gerard?
Well, I mean, it's an interesting dilemma, because the big shops, if you will, have a lot of the same, what I call same labor pool that they source from.
Yeah.
There's nothing fresh. I haven't seen anything new. In fact, probably sometimes I've seen the same names be brought forward in some searches that I've had. The retained searches, or the ones that are direct placement, I think some of the smaller ones are really working aggressively to find how they, place the right fit within the organization and adapt to those changing needs. Then there are the other ones, like you mentioned, that sort of taint the reputation of recruitment, where it's sort of the stop, drop, and roll.
It's the spray and pray approach.
Okay, spray and pray.
Yeah, that's an old marketing term I learned of the other day, which is basically just throw as much crap at a wall as you can and see what sticks.
Yeah, my CEO has a name for that, but I won't say it on air right now. I'll probably tell you offline. There's another acronym for that, but I'll share offline.
Oh, you're going to keep you're going to keep this suspense?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, send me an email later if you guys are interested, and I'll tell you what it was. So how do you fix the transactional piece, right? That's a big problem. Mm-hmm. So let's talk a little bit about that, because it seems to me, and I'm going to flip it around now, and I'm going to talk about recruiting's perspective on HR.
Sure.
Is that from our perspective, HR doesn't really have a good handle on exactly what the roles are. And granted, you're dealing with everything.
Right.
So, hey, you have huge shoulders to carry the load that HR carries in a company. But that said, I think there's a level of control there that doesn't really need to be there.
Correct.
And I think a lot of companies have actually been fairly smart in taking both of those pieces and just splitting them out. Splitting talent acquisition from HR. And I know a lot of HR people have been really happy about that.
Yeah, I'm sort of unhappy about that.
Are you?
I think that where it misses is that as a cohesive team, we're a continuum in the life cycle of the employee. The person becomes our product. And so whether it's from They say it sometimes in sort of staffing, cradle to grave. I mean, you have that in between where that's the face of the business sometimes, the talent acquisition folks. They're the first touch to a potential hire. They create that sort of synergy between whether it's the generalist on the ground all the way on up to the C-level person. They're advocating for this person to become that right fit in the organization. I think where recruitment has to change on both sides of the coin is really understanding how to become an extension of the business. So those talent leaders should be joining those operations meetings, understanding what's taking place, why it's taking place. And HR needs to play nicer in the sandbox and probably feeding that information. So, by and between the recruitment teams, whether internal or external, that they have the right information to select the right candidate pool. I think where it misses the mark, too, is some HR lay people are too hyper-focused on the role of the job description, telling and selling the job.
Oh, yeah, the buzzwords.
Right.
And having the required 4 years of experience or something like that.
Right. Instead of looking at, what does this person bring to the table that I don't currently have that, well, maybe they're short on these hard skills, but maybe on the softer skills, they could really add some value in terms of maybe they have a tremendous background in training, and what could that bring to the table in terms of a small work team, or maybe they've been in charge of project teams and they can really bring that skill forward. Those are some of the things that I think we have to read between the lines with each of the candidates that come forward.
I would agree. And, here's the other, I think the other difficult piece that I've seen is that from a recruiting standpoint, we were always taught HR stood for human roadblock. So it was your job. It was your job as a recruiter to get past and get to the hiring manager.
Right.
And often it's been throughout my career where the HR person doesn't even let you talk to the hiring manager so you can find out exactly what that person needs.
No, I want you to sit down with them because they're the ones that they're telling you the live piece of information, the day-to-day aspects of the job where they know how that person will be successful. I don't, HR, I get frustrated. I think you are right about the human roadblock. Instead of thinking, wow, could I be that great business partner to my operations team, to that hiring manager that has this need right now, and lending them to that outside recruitment. I think sometimes that's the fear factor that they'll get sourced away.
Explain that to me. What do you mean?
Oh, that maybe, the recruiter is building up their own sort of safety net of potential candidates in the future, and by virtue of meeting with this person that's internal in the organization, that they might
recruit that person out at some point.
Right.
Yeah, you know what, though? I think I was always taught, and I learned really early on, you don't bite the hand that feeds you.
Right.
So if there is an ongoing relationship, if there truly is one, nobody's going to breach that.
That's right.
You know what I mean? If somebody leaves on their own, that's a whole different story. But, all right, so we flipped it a little bit. We're talking about our perception of HR. The other thing that I've gotten is that a lot of times HR really doesn't have a thorough understanding of what the job is. But then again, a lot of times the hiring manager doesn't either.
Right, because it defaults to the job description being the telltale version of what that candidate is going to do, when really, in theory, they probably do 10% of what's really on that job description.
It's a wish list.
It is.
Yeah.
And it's a very difficult to attain wish list because it's impossible to meet every need on a piece of paper,
Totally.
especially when it's 2 and 3 pages, right?
Oh, yeah.
All the particulars.
But it doesn't outline most often what the job is.
No.
Like when I start and I sit down and I see, what am I going to be doing?
I'm going to flip this a little bit. I fault the recruiter sometimes for that, because if you said the right things to someone like me, someone like me, and said, hey, Nicole, I would love to do a walkthrough of your plant operations, or I'd like to sit in your break room, for example, and kind of get a vibe of how people come together, those collisions that happen during the day, or I'd like to participate in a meeting that's not a confidential meeting, but just get a sense how your team operates.
Yeah.
That would give you more of a bird's eye view of the culture, so that when you're looking for that candidate, you're meeting to the fit and not necessarily meeting to the, let me just get the payday at the end of the day and just get this off the job board on my whiteboard and cross it off the list.
All right, so we're talking to Nicole Arvizu. She's the Chief Human Resources and Compliance Officer at Marical. We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we're going to continue this discussion, and we're going to see who wins this victorious battle.
Woo!
You're listening to Higher Power with Rick Girard, giving you access to recruiting techniques that will help you hire key talent to build your company towards real success. Rick is a recruiting executive and entrepreneur who's been successfully recruiting in the aggressive Silicon Valley technology landscape for the past 2 decades. After a very successful stint at Apogee, he founded Stride Search in 2012. Based on a lean efficiency model, Stride has uniquely positioned itself as a leader in retained search for the most critical talent hires within a small organization. Whether you're a startup executive or recruiting professional, by listening to Hire Power with Rick Girard, you will walk away with skills to help you attract and hire great talent. Now back to Hire Power with Rick Girard.
Ding, ding, ding. Welcome back to the Hire Power Radio Show. I'm your host, Rick Girard, and you are listening to Epic Battle Number 1, HR versus Recruiting. I'm speaking with Nicole Arvizu, the Chief HR and Compliance Officer for Marical. So we were just discussing a bit about what we hate about each other, but it's really nicely put. Now we're going to actually delve into how we can kind of fix it and provide some solutions for you. So let's talk a little bit about your last point, which was you said, that most recruiters don't take the time to sit in and get an idea of what the culture is. Again, I'm going to throw this back to HR where most times recruiters probably aren't invited in to do so. Mm-hmm. But really, if you want that kind of relationship, you're talking about a different model rather than a
You are.
Yeah.
You're treating it as an extension of your business.
Yeah.
As I think most of your vendors, if you're providing a service and you're paying the expense that you are, they should be as much in the know, within reason, of course, for confidentiality reasons and, other business trade secrets or other things that take place to protect the company's interests. I think that you can have and you should treat them as a true extension of your operation so that they know what's taking place, any upcoming challenges, and that they can anticipate the need in advance of. What happens is that recruitment is so reactive because someone's made other plans.
Yeah.
They've left the company.
Yeah, or they are leaving.
Right, or there's something taking place, and I think some of the best recruiter relationships I've had are those that I can lean on and say, hey, I know I'm going to have this organizational change. Would you help this person out? I know this person or persons are being shifted out of the organization. It'd be great if you can give them a call, kind of give them a heads up. The other.
So what you're talking about really is the problem is relationship. Which is really the point of this show.
Right, because why would I drive a wedge between somebody that's going to benefit me and lessening the pressure that I have to meet the supply demand of people talent in an organization when I have my managers asking why when we place this person, why is this rec open? I'm still short.
So you're saying me as recruiter A coming in trying to work with your company, I'm not really that special like I think I am.
No, because there's hundreds of you.
There we go.
And I can go anywhere to meet hundreds of you to do the same thing or some version of the same thing each place you go.
So statistically speaking, what you're looking at from a contingency firm is as a contingency firm, you really only fill about 18% of your roles, right? So once you build an exclusivity into the role, now you bump it up to about a 51% that you're going to fill it. And then once you go retained, then it's a whole different ballgame because we're sitting at about 98% success rate. So as a company or as an HR leader, why not change the model to where you're getting the best results? Yes, it might cost you money up front, or offer exclusivity to somebody, but do it in such a way where you don't really condone the traditional model of spray and pray.
Right. I mean, and I think that's controversial probably for, the executive level folks because it's a level of financial commitment that you're making.
Sure.
The investment in this third party to mitigate a staffing risk or the fact that you've not been able to bring somebody in, some other talent through the HR organization or internal recruitment.
So it's education on the leadership part.
It is, and I think they have to understand, what that person's going to add in terms of productivity, value, dollars, and revenue generation that hire will place within the organization. They'll make up the dollars, but it's a small investment up front sometimes and less risk, particularly if I have a good partnership with a contingency firm or other staffing agency that can help me meet that need. I have greater risk the longer that role is vacant.
Is the big thing in the draw on the leadership side to say, okay, well, look at it. It doesn't cost us anything to see the resumes unless we hire somebody.
Correct.
Is that so? But you're seeing so many resumes, and you're killing so much time interviewing people that aren't qualified.
I've limited it. With some contingency firms, I've said, look, I don't want to see more than 5 right now at a time. I don't want to see 50. I want to see your top 5, our top 3, you know, however you treat it. I want to see only those. I don't need to kill trees to review a bunch of people. You know, let's keep it small.
I mean, we're a green company.
Right. But I don't need all of the extras, because that's another stress level too. You know, it gets buried in emails. I got to look at all these people again. And why did I hire you if I got to look at 50 people and I can do that on my own, look at it LinkedIn or Indeed or some other vehicle? Why would I bring you in if we're doing the same?
I don't think that most of them are doing that. I think most of what contingency firms do, and again, I come from that world, has been low-hanging fruit. So you might do an email blast, but for the most part through your database.
Right.
And then you'll probably do Indeed or one of the various job boards. Mm-hmm. And you might send out some LinkedIn emails if you have any credits for it.
Right.
But in most cases, that's not what happens.
No.
All right, so what we have here is failure to communicate. Right?
I would agree, yeah.
So we have a little bit of the blame game going on.
We do.
I think so far you're winning, but I'm not going to say anything. So let's talk about, you know, the external factors. You have market conditions, which are kind of condoning this issue right now.
Right. They are, and with such a compressed labor market and the fact that you have low unemployment in Orange County, and you have, and for me, especially in manufacturing, this is where the dilemma happens, is because I'm having to compete against other price points for other labor in other places, whether it's because of state minimum wage push or it's because, you know, I read an article and I was telling some executives this morning. I said, it's the Disney effect right now. You know, there was an article in the Times.
What's the Disney effect?
The article in the Times over the weekend, they were talking about how they've hit kind of an interesting labor wall that they are forced now to, and some of it's due to union contract, but really having to force the minimum wage for their average starting workers. So, you know, instead of saying it's going to be $12 an hour.
This is at Disney?
Yeah, and it's now $13.25 an hour, which that's a huge cost increase to Disney, right?
Sure.
Not that they can't afford it, but it is a huge cost increase.
They can make another version of Little Mermaid.
There you go. But with this upcoming looming $15 an hour for, you know, unskilled labor, and a lot of employers are facing that.
Yeah.
We're at the whims of staffing agencies telling us that you need to pay more to compete. You're at the whims of the candidate telling us you got to pay me more if you want me. So we have a real push right now.
It is rising across the board.
It is.
And I'm seeing it in big numbers up in the Bay Area, because I do about half my work up there.
Right, and they have a even more interesting dilemma because they're already there in terms of some county areas already paying at that threshold.
Yeah.
So you have not only those factors, but insurance and sick time and all these other great things that California affords us, which I love my state, but it does create some challenges.
That was very politically correct.
Yes, I love my state. Don't get me wrong. I love my state.
Where's your USA pin?
No. I love my state.
All right, so how do we collectively work together? So let's build in some ideas on how we can all get along here.
Okay.
All right, any ideas?
I would say, you know, instead of the traditional hound me with a bunch of emails in the morning, and I'd tell you it's about 50 emails a day from different agencies, and I've
only emailed you twice.
Only twice.
Yes.
That's good. But some of them are very persistent. Really plan for some time, or hook me by sending me an email that says something like, hey, I saw that Marical's had some open recs for a while.
So do some research.
Right. Hey, I noticed that you purchased a new company. I noticed you brought in a new chief commercial officer. I noticed that you brought in, you know, a new executive team. Tell me more about that. Would love to meet with them and, you know, have a dialogue.
So good jab. I like it.
Okay.
All right, so I'm going to throw one back at you.
Sure.
I think it's really important that HR be selective in who they be more selective. Don't work with 20 firms.
No, there's no benefit to it. I mean, you know who you like, you know who is the closest to your labor needs, and this
isn't just HR. This is just in general. Most companies tend to work with a lot of firms.
They do, and I don't, especially on the staffing side. I wouldn't say so much on contingent or direct placement fee based, but it's definitely on staffing.
Yeah.
Everyone does the same.
They all have the same candidates, right?
They do. And so I agree with that principle that you select one, but make them a true extension of your business. Really involve them in what's happening operationally every day.
Absolutely.
Within reason, of course.
Yeah. I mean, invite us over for coffee every once in a while.
You can bring the muffins. I'll supply the coffee.
I don't drink coffee, but I'll still come over and hang out, you know?
Right.
I mean, I totally agree. A business partnership is definitely the most effective way. And when you get to a retained search level, it's really about just handling the one-offs, which are the key executives. So those don't really happen. There's not really a whole lot of gray level, right? What you're saying is contingency firms really need to take the time to develop their relationships.
They do. Longer standing ones.
You know what's funny is I go to a lot of networking events. I never run into recruiters. I take it back. I rarely run into recruiters. I'm like the anomaly there. Like, oh, really? What are you doing here?
Well, and it's usually the agencies, right, that you run into?
Just small random ones. Like, I gave a talk at Disrupt HR. I think that's where I met you, right? I ran into 2 recruiters there that I met. So I was surprised. But I go to an Octane event or some of these other things. Rarely ever run into anybody who's in talent acquisition.
Right. Well, and study up who's attending. A lot of times those meetings will publish. I know Disrupt what does. They publish who's going to be there. If you're a recruiter, take the time and try and find that person and say, hey, I wanted to meet you personally, and here's why.
Yeah. All right. So I want to flip to something that's kind of interesting. Does HR still run under the premise, I know this was like years ago, where HR usually got a bonus based on least cost per hire, or keeping their cost per hire down? Is that still something that's even relevant?
The organizations I worked for in the last 5-6 years have not had that. I know in the past,
so when I worked away with that?
When I was working in mortgage, they did. It was pretty predominant, but not here now. I've not seen that as much. But you bring up the topic of fees.
Well, that was something that was
and get creative.
Taught to us, right?
Right. I mean, get creative, because sometimes I see with some recruiters it's one size fits all, instead of saying, okay, wait, I know this person likely has a budget somewhere, and that budget can shift. Even though it's set in stone, maybe in January something can happen in the operations where...
They always do.
Right, that throws off how we hire or timing of hire, and I need some flexibility with those things.
That's the thing. Recruiting is fluid.
Right.
And I've had clients that I brought on where 1 week I'm working on one role and they shift it to another role, or
they enhance it or change it or modify it.
No, I mean, I've had one where they were looking for somebody here in LA, and then they shifted it and said, well, we don't need LA right now, let's do Boston. I'm like, really? That's going to set us back about 3 weeks.
Right.
Well, that's okay. I mean, it is fluid. It's dynamic. It changes.
It is. Yeah. Absolutely.
All right. So you don't like the idea of separating responsibilities?
I don't. I come from the belief of cohesive work teams, but that's just me in terms of how I like to best work and draw in my talent. So if it's something where I have...
Are you doing recruiting?
We aren't right now.
No, I mean, are you personally?
Oh, I am personally.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, you're involved in that process?
I am too.
Okay. You're a superwoman.
Well, and it's only because we're not, locally we have an organization that's about 375 people and 150 out of state. So we do a fair amount of our own sort of organic sourcing. And then when we get to a point where it's taking longer than we need, then we certainly have to bring in other folks to assist and support.
Okay. Got it. Trust. Do we trust each other?
I think within reason, but certainly.
I'm kind of suspect.
Yeah,
so I've been told.
The thing I find, I've had a couple of blips. I would say maybe in the last 6 months, where a couple of firms have brought forward candidates, and we were really enthusiastic about them, and great sort of biography that they wrote on them, and gave all the merits of why they're wonderful, really sold me on the person, and the person ended up leaving after 60 days. And and I was disappointed because something got missed there.
Ooh, I can tell you exactly what it was.
What was it?
You guys have a broken interview process.
That could be.
Yeah.
That could be.
Or, the messaging wasn't being conveyed correctly. I think a lot of times what ends up happening is that when you do have a third party, if you guys don't have the relationship to where you're really working together as a team,
right,
you're going to get a lot of mismessaging.
And that's what happened in this one. I think the candidate felt that there was a lot more opportunity for growth, instead of realizing that I need to be a little bit static in the role for a while before I'm really offered a promotional opportunity.
Yeah.
They were expecting it within 60 days of starting.
Got it.
So something was missed in how it was communicated, or...
Well, as recruiters, again, we're salespeople a lot
overselling.
of times. Yeah, it's like, oh, yeah, great, the opportunity. I mean, like, I hear recruiters all the time saying, oh yeah, there's plenty of room for growth. 6 months, not a problem.
We all
They'll make
have
it happen.
we all have
So
to stop saying that.
It's
both
car
sides.
salesman-y kind of mentality.
Right. But both of us have to stop saying that there's room for growth and there's opportunity for growth.
Well, I think there should be a laid out growth path.
Or at least a career plan within that organization that says, reaching these milestones will afford you the opportunity to move, migrate, upgrade, whatever within your particular role.
Got it.
Yeah.
So in one last point, because I know we're going to get I'm getting the scissors from Paul, our engineer over there, being like, cut it. We're going long, Paul. Work with it. So one last point to that, which is the job description itself. Do you guys lay out the performance metrics?
Or our job descriptions, I'll say, I'll take ownership
we'll talk
of that
about
one.
that offline.
Yeah, they need work. They're a very traditional model of job description. It doesn't really tell you much other than a lot of bullet points that tell you the same thing over and over again.
It's pretty much everybody's job description.
Yeah.
But I'm on a mission to fix that in this world.
Well, maybe that's
my life's
maybe that's
story.
your upsell. Maybe that's the differentiator, is truly helping us write a better job description.
I'll be over there tomorrow.
Okay.
All right, so tell us a little bit about Marical, and then I'm going to wrap up.
Marical is a contract and retail manufacturer of nutraceutical supplements. You've seen some of these. We do not have a private label brand, but we do manufacture different vitamins for people like Trader Joe's, Costco, Sam's Club, Walgreens.
That's super cool.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
You guys make
We're keeping
really
people
cool
healthy.
stuff.
Yeah, we're keeping people healthy.
There's a lot of people that need to be healthy.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so we're just about out of time for today's show. Nicole, actually, I'm gonna ask Paul, our engineer, who won this battle. Paul, is it a draw? Did we?
Yeah, Paul. Be fair.
I think you were just being polite. You were dancing around each other here. Nobody went for the kill.
We didn't. No jugular here.
Oh man,
Yeah.
so we both got DQ'd.
We did. Not enough points there.
We failed. All right, so thanks for your time and investment today,
Great,
and I
thank
want to
you.
welcome you to the show and to the Real Higher Power Radio community. Now, I know you guys are hiring.
Yes, we are.
All right, so tell our audience how they find you.
Go to Marical.com.
Spell it out.
Merical.com.
All right, and there's lots of really cool jobs, and I got to tell you,
With instant promotion. Within a couple months, you're promoted.
You will be the C-level person.
see, this is why he just came out with a knockout punch. We both just got 1-2'd. All right. So I want to thank our listening audience for tuning in to this week's episode. A quick thanks to our engineer, Paul Roberts, our producers, Andrea Ballin, Shanti Ryle, and Kim Iverson. If you like the show, please subscribe. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn. We're all over the place right now. To check out any past episodes, you can check us out on Hire, that's HIRE, powerradio.com, or find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, YouTube. I just said that, but I'm going to say it again. You can follow me also on Instagram at RickGerard1. Tune in next week. Our guest will be Mark James. I don't know if this is going to be a battle round, but I'm going to try. I'm going to try and do another one. Maybe we'll do like a
Part
theme.
2. Yeah.
It'll be like Rocky 1, me and you.
There you go.
And then...
I think it's like WrestleMania. You go through all of them until one
really,
wins.
why you gotta cheapen the show like that?
What the audience wants.
Nobody wants WrestleMania. Get off the... Don't tune back in again.
Is that where we dress up as purple squirrels?
Yes,
Something like
exactly.
that. Yeah.
Purple squirrel, unicorn, butterflies.
Exactly.
Yeah. Our guest next week is going to be Mark James. He's the founder and president of Hire Consulting Services and author of The Keys to the C-Suite. I'm your host, Rick Gerard, and you have been listening to the Higher Power Radio Show.
Thanks,
Aloha.
Rick. Thanks.
Thank you for listening to Higher Power with Rick Gerard on OC Talk Radio.